Introduction. The moment. Everything shifts. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, please subscribe my channel and like video. Thanks, gentlemen. There is a moment in every connection where the dynamic quietly shifts. The moment a woman realizes the man she expected to chase her isn't chasing. It is subtle at first, almost invisible, but inside her mind, something begins to move. Something begins to question. Something begins to chase. Women will never admit this openly because admitting it reveals how deeply they feel the effect of masculine self-control. But the truth is simple. When you stop chasing her, she doesn't relax. She becomes alert. She becomes curious. And she becomes emotionally activated in ways she was not prepared for. Most men think the chase is what keeps a woman interested. They believe effort equals attraction and attention equals approval. They think that if they slow down, she will lose interest. If they stop texting constantly, she will pull away. If they don't show enough eagerness, she will replace them. So they overinvest, over-explain, overgive, and over-pursue, trying to ensure she never doubts how much they want her. But in that attempt to prove worth, they collapse into something every woman senses instantly: emotional dependence. But when a man stops chasing, everything changes. Not because he becomes cold, but because he becomes centered. Not because he ignores her, but because he respects himself. Not because he withdraws affection, but because he reclaims his energy and stops offering it to someone who hasn't earned it. This shift awakens something powerful in her psychology, something she doesn't fully understand but feels deeply. The moment why most men overchase and lose attraction. You stop chasing is the moment she starts seeing you clearly. She begins to evaluate the connection more carefully. She wonders why your attention feels different. She questions what changed in your mindset. And because she no longer feels the predictable flow of validation, she starts checking your actions more closely. She becomes more aware of her behavior. She becomes more conscious of her effort. She begins to fear losing the attention she once took for granted. A woman expects the typical reaction: impatience, neediness, panic, pressure. She expects a man to double down when she pulls away. But when you do the opposite, when you remain calm, composed, unbothered, and quietly confident, you break the pattern she is used to. And this disruption affects her deeply. It forces her to turn inward and ask questions she avoids. Why isn't he chasing? Did I misread his interest? Is he losing attraction? Is he seeing someone else? Did I underestimate him? And those questions create emotional tension, the exact tension that generates pursuit. The psychology shall never admit is this: women do not chase men they control. Women chase men they cannot predict. Women chase men whose attention feels earned. Women chase men who can walk away. Not chasing doesn't mean rejecting her. It means valuing yourself enough to let her choose you. And when she feels she must choose you instead of being chosen automatically, that's when the real attraction begins. Before we start, a quick reminder: the subtle power of masculine self-control. Real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood, a private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits. Just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in. Section number 1, the shift in power. The first thing that happens when you stop chasing a woman is not anger, and it's not disappointment. It's confusion, a quiet, subtle, internal confusion. She will never show you because in her mind, she had already predicted your behavior. She believed she understood your emotional rhythm. She assumed you would continue giving, continuing reaching out, continuing to prove your interest just to stay in her orbit. Women build silent expectations about men, and most men stay inside those expectations without even realizing it. They follow the script she has already written for them. But when you stop chasing, you rewrite that script instantly. Her mind enters unfamiliar territory. You break the pattern she trusted to keep her comfortable. This is the first psychological shift that pulls her towards you. Women do not chase men who give them predictable attention. Predictability kills tension. Predictability kills curiosity. Predictability kills the emotional pull that makes her want to move toward you. Section 1. The shift in power and her confusion. But when you stop chasing, the emotional landscape changes. Her certainty evaporates. Her assumptions crumble. She begins to feel something she didn't feel before, the gravity of your absence. It's important to understand that women subconsciously count on male pursuit, not because they are manipulative, but because masculine eagerness is so common that it has become normal. Most men rush toward any sign of interest. Most men collapse when they feel they might lose her. Most men respond instantly to avoid being forgotten. Most men place her at the center of their emotional world long before she has earned that position. So when a man doesn't follow that pattern, when he doesn't chase after mixed signals, cold replies, or emotional distance, he stands out immediately. Not chasing reveals something she didn't expect. You are not emotionally dependent on her reactions. You are not controlled by her mood. You are not shaped by her timing. You are not driven by fear of losing her. This independence is rare, and rare is attractive. Your silence does not make her feel superior. It makes her question what makes you different. It makes her pay attention to details she previously ignored. It makes her see you not as another admirer, but as a man who belongs to himself. This is where the pull begins. Because when a woman feels a man slipping away, not through drama, not through anger, but through quiet self-respect, she starts to chase, not because she is desperate, but because she is awakened. Your silence becomes the mirror that reflects her effort. Your lack of pursuit shows her where she has fallen short. Your calmness highlights her inconsistency. Your distance exposes her assumptions. And here is the deepest psychological truth she'll never admit. When you stop chasing her, she starts chasing the version of you she can no longer predict, control, or easily win back. Your silence isn't rejection. It is revelation. It reveals who she truly is. It reveals what she truly wants. And it reveals where the real power has always been in the hands of the man who doesn't need to chase. Section number 2, the emotional gap. The moment you stop chasing, something powerful begins to happen inside her mind. A psychological gap forms. This is not a gap created by distance or coldness, but by contrast. Contrast between the attention she was used to and the silence she no longer understands. Contrast between the emotional effort you once gave and the calm neutrality you now hold. Contrast between the man she assumed you were and the man she suddenly realizes she doesn't fully know. Humans are wired to notice what disappears. Women especially notice emotional shifts, and nothing shifts harder, faster, or deeper than the disappearance of a man's pursuit. At first, she may tell herself that she doesn't care. She may say it doesn't affect her. She may even pretend she prefers the space. But internally, the contrast created by your absence creates tension, and tension creates focus. Women do not chase you because you pull away. Women chase you because your absence forces them to confront their section 2, the emotional gap that pulls her in own emotions. This emotional gap is where attraction is born. When you stop chasing, she suddenly feels the missing energy. The conversations that were once guaranteed become rare. The attention she didn't appreciate now feels meaningful. The validation she took for granted becomes something she must earn. The imbalance she created becomes a reflection she cannot ignore. Your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. This is why silence is so powerful. It doesn't push her away. It pulls her inward. When you stop chasing, she begins to think in circles she never thought in before. Questions she never asked herself begin surfacing. Why did he slow down? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? Is he talking to someone else? Was I too cold? Did I expect too much? What changed in him? These questions do not weaken women. They activate them. A woman's emotional system is built around connection, validation, and relational clarity. When she loses clarity, she seeks it. When she loses connection, she reopens the door mentally. When she loses attention, she begins scanning the situation intensely to understand why. The emotional gap you created becomes a puzzle she wants to solve, and you become the missing piece. Your absence magnifies your value. Your silence magnifies your confidence. Your composure magnifies your mystery. Because here's the truth. People chase what they fear losing more than what they already have. And when you stop chasing, she feels the possibility of losing you in a way she never did when you were constantly present. This emotional gap doesn't make her desperate. It makes her aware. Aware of her own behavior, aware of how much she invested, aware of how much she took for granted, aware of the fact that you are not a man she can ignore without consequences. Your absence creates the space she needs to appreciate your presence. Your silence creates the tension she needs to feel desire. Your lack of pursuit creates the reflection she needs to feel responsibility. And this is the psychology she'll never admit. Your silence reveals her true level of interest more clearly than any conversation ever could. Section number 3, the activation of pursuit. The moment you stop chasing her, something fundamental shifts inside her emotional system. Her pursuit instinct activates. This is not manipulation, and it's not a trick. It is psychology. Women are not wired to value what is constantly available. They are wired to value what requires effort, attention, and emotional investment. When a man places himself completely within her reach, she relaxes. When that same man steps back with calmness and self-respect, she awakens. Attraction grows through uncertainty and pursuit, not predictability and overinvestment. When you stop chasing, you create the uncertainty that fuels feminine attraction, not insecurity. Uncertainty. Uncertainty is the spark that makes her wonder, analyze, observe, and eventually act. It creates space for her to choose you instead of being chosen by default. Most men never get to experience a woman chasing them because they never stop chasing long enough to allow the shift to happen. Their constant pursuit suffocates her investment opportunities. They act first, decide first, message first, apologize first, explain first. But the man who steps back, not out of anger, not out of fear, but out of Section 3, activation of her pursuit. Instinct strength creates the opening that allows her pursuit to surface naturally. When you stop chasing, she begins testing the connection in small, subtle ways. She sends a message she doesn't normally send. She replies faster. She asks more questions. She compliments in ways she never did. She initiates conversation. She mirrors your tone. She tries to match your effort. She shows more warmth than she did before. These are not accidents. These are micro-pursuits, little signals that show her emotional investment is rising. A woman may not chase dramatically at first. Her pride won't allow that, but she will chase quietly. Women chase through curiosity. Women chase through effort. Women chase through consistency. Women chase through the small actions that reveal they are now paying attention to you. And a woman only invests her attention in a man she does not want to lose. When you stop chasing, the dynamic flips. She is no longer evaluating whether she wants you. She is evaluating whether she is losing you. This distinction is massive because the moment a woman feels she is losing a man she respects, a man she underestimated, a man she once thought she controlled, she begins to adjust. She softens. She becomes kinder. She becomes more intentional. She stops playing games. she shows more vulnerability. All because your calm absence introduced a reality she did not expect. You are not a man she can replace easily. Your lack of pursuit becomes the mirror that shows her the truth. She must now contribute. Not because you forced her, not because you manipulated her, but because the energy you once gave freely must now be earned. And here is the deepest psychological truth she'll never admit. A woman only chases when she respects the man's independence more than she trusts her own assumptions about him. Your silence didn't push her away. It pulled her into a version of herself she didn't access when you were doing all the work. Section number 4, the collapse of her ego. When you stop chasing her, something begins to crumble quietly inside her. Not her confidence, but her ego. A woman's ego is built on certainty. The certainty that she can predict who will stay, who will try, who will chase, and who will wait. When a man follows the pattern she expects, she feels in control. But when a man breaks that pattern with calm, grounded distance, she loses that control. And that loss forces her ego to collapse in ways she cannot hide from herself. Most women won't admit how much their ego depends on male pursuit. They won't say how much they rely on attention to measure value. They won't admit how deeply they pay attention to the men who don't follow the script, but internally, the ego monitors everything. It tracks effort, it measures consistency, it observes reactions. And when a man suddenly stops chasing, that ego becomes unsettled. You see, chasing is not just about attraction, it's about identity. When you were pursuing her, she built an identity around your interest. She knew that no matter what she did, whether she was warm, cold, distant, playful, or confusing, you would respond. Your attention became a part of her emotional routine. Your presence became something she counted on. Even if she wasn't fully reciprocating, the certainty of your desire strengthened her ego. It made her feel safe in her position. But when you withdraw that pursuit, not with anger, but with maturity, something breaks. Her ego no longer receives the validation it used to. Her emotional rhythm is disrupted. Her perception of control dissolves. Her understanding of you becomes blurry. And this is where the psychological shift deepens. She stops viewing you as someone trying to earn her and starts viewing you as someone she is now at risk of losing. This shift is powerful. It flips the dynamic. It makes her evaluate herself, not you. When the ego collapses, she begins thinking differently. Maybe I misjudged him. Maybe he has options. Maybe he's not as invested as I assumed. Maybe I'm not the priority I thought I was. Maybe another woman grabbed his attention. These questions don't weaken her attraction, they intensify it. Your calm section 4. The collapse of her ego distance forces her to look at her own behavior. She revisits past conversations. She reinterprets moments where she pushed you away. She re-examines times she showed less effort. She becomes painfully aware of opportunities she wasted because she thought you would always be there. This is not suffering, it's awakening. A woman's ego collapses not when a man leaves loudly, but when he leaves quietly. Her pride breaks not when you argue, but when you don't argue. Her confidence wavers not when you get emotional, but when you stay composed. Her perspective changes not when you fight for her, but when you stop fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for you. Your calm distance teaches her the truth she needed to see. You were never chasing her out of weakness. You were chasing her out of desire. And now that you stopped, she realizes it was never guaranteed. This collapse of the ego is not about pain. It's about clarity. And clarity is the doorway to genuine pursuit. Section number 5, the awakening of her fear of loss. Every woman, no matter how confident she appears, carries a quiet fear she rarely acknowledges. The fear of losing a man who is truly valuable. Not a man who chases endlessly, not a man who needs constant attention, not a man who folds under pressure, but a man who is calm, steady, self-sufficient, and emotionally independent. A man who has options, purpose, and direction. A man who does not negotiate his dignity for affection. This is the man she fears losing. And when you stop chasing, This fear awakens inside her. It does not appear as panic. It does not come out as desperation. It begins as a subtle discomfort, a shift so small she can't explain it, but powerful enough that she feels it in her chest. She starts sensing a difference in the energy. She starts noticing your silence in places where she used to hear your voice. She starts feeling your absence where she once felt your attention. The world around her hasn't changed, but you have. And this shift forces her to confront something she wasn't prepared to face: the possibility that you were never truly hers. Women pursue certainty until they get it. Once they get certainty, they seek challenge. When the challenge disappears, interest dissolves. But when you stop chasing, you bring the challenge back, not through games, but through self-respect. Your absence reintroduces uncertainty, and uncertainty reawakens desire. This fear of loss activates her emotional investment. She begins checking the messages more carefully. She starts replaying conversations. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, and whether your silence is intentional or natural. She becomes more aware of your presence in her mind than your presence ever was in her world. This is how pursuit begins, not through logic, but through emotional awareness. When she feels the fear of losing you, she begins acting differently. Her tone softens. Her replies become warmer. She initiates more often. She becomes more polite, more curious, more feminine. She stops section 5, awakening. Her fear of loss playing games because games now feel dangerous. She could lose you for real. She mirrors your maturity because immaturity might push you further away. She invests more because she no longer feels entitled to your attention. This is not manipulation. This is psychology. People respect what they fear losing. People value what is no longer guaranteed. People invest in what is slipping away. Your calmness communicates something clearer than any words could ever express. You are not afraid to walk away. And when a woman senses that, her entire approach changes. She realizes your value was not based on how much attention you gave, but on the depth of the presence you offered. She realizes your pursuit was not endless, but conditional. She realizes your time was not free, but earned. She realizes your heart was not desperate, but discerning. She realizes your silence is not emptiness. It is a boundary. The fear of loss doesn't make her weak. It makes her aware. Aware of who you are. Aware of what you brought. Aware of what she stands to lose if she doesn't rise. And this awareness is the first step toward deeper respect and genuine pursuit. Shortly. Now that we've broken down every psychological shift, every emotional reversal, and every hidden reaction she experiences, one final truth stands above all the others. Your worth becomes visible the moment you stop trying to prove it. Women will never openly admit how much their attraction is shaped by a man's self-control. But the truth is clear. When you stop chasing her, you stop feeding her ego and start awakening her genuine desire. Chasing keeps her comfortable. Not chasing keeps her curious. Chasing keeps her certain. Not chasing keeps her engaged. Chasing gives her power. Not chasing gives her awareness. Because the moment you step back, not with anger, not with games, not with punishment, but with calm self-respect, the entire dynamic shifts in your favor. She begins noticing your absence more than she ever noticed your presence. She begins valuing your attention now that it's no longer guaranteed. She begins remembering the details she ignored when she thought you were always available. And most importantly, she begins seeing you as a man with direction, dignity, and emotional maturity. Women do not chase men they control. They chase men they respect, and respect is born from restraint, not reaction. When you stop final truth, your worth shines. When you stop proving it chasing, you teach her something she wasn't prepared to learn. That your desire was a gift, not a guarantee. That your attention was an offering, not an obligation. That your energy was valuable, not disposable. And that the man she thought would always be there is the same man who is no longer waiting for her to decide. She won't admit this publicly, but she feels it deeply. Your silence is strength. Your calmness is power. Your distance is clarity. Your lack of pursuit is a mirror that forces her to see her effort, a mirror that exposes the imbalance she created, a mirror that highlights the parts of the connection she neglected, a mirror that makes her ask what she must do, not what you must do. And this is the moment she stops expecting and starts investing. A woman may be confused by your chase, but she is awakened by your absence. She may enjoy your attention, but she respects your boundaries. She may like the validation, but she chases the man whose value does not depend on her response. And she may play games with boys, but she adjusts her behavior for a man who can walk away with peace. Here's the truth she'll never say out loud. When you stop chasing her, she stops taking you for granted and starts taking you seriously. She sees your worth. She respects your presence. She fears your absence. And join the community call to action. She desires your approval more than she ever desired your pursuit. In the end, not chasing her is not about making her chase you. It's about choosing yourself. And when you choose yourself, you become the man she finally chooses back. Not out of comfort, but out of conviction. Remember, knowledge means nothing without action. If you're ready to rise above emotion and lead with purpose, join the community today at the link below. Enroll once, grow forever. Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel. God bless you. Take